Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm Spiguyver, this is Spiguyver Backpacking, and I'm out here today just to do a real quick video on something that I played around with yesterday that I wanted to show you guys because the question had come up. I've been having some comments with some people about stoves and some other stuff, and I was talking about the ultimate lightweight setup and got some feedback about, well, it can't be used in certain situations. It's been raining for the last 2 days here. It just stopped this morning. When I let the dogs out this morning, it was actually still misting. So it is still pretty wet out here. I've got my sit pad down underneath me, but I'm just out here to do this. So it's about 34 degrees, a little bit of a chilly morning, and so I wanted to bring you guys out here, sit down, talk about this, show you guys what I'm thinking, see whether or not we can do what I wanted to do. So let's go. Okay, so here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to come out here today while everything is wet. You can see the ground is extremely damp still. The wood that's around me is all really wet. And I wanted to bring out my wood burning cook kit. So this is my QiWiz Firefly. Thing weighs like 2.5 ounces. The way that I've got it right now, it may actually be a little bit less than that. And then I've got this little Batch Stoves 12 cm pot that I use. And put it all together, makes a really light. This is about 6 ounces for this setup here. And then, as I always carry in my emergency sack, I've got some Vaseline soaked cotton balls. So this is what I'm gonna use to get this going. The wood around here is soaked. I'll let you guys see, there's still water dripping off of the trees. But I'm gonna gather some wood. I'm gonna process it to the right size and get this thing going to show you guys how it can be done. All right, so I'm gonna gather some wood and then I'll start breaking it up into the right size. So I'm looking for stuff that at the biggest is about the size of my thumb and at the smallest is super small. Yeah, that's good. You can see, if I shake this, the water just falls right off of the tree. Okay, so I've got a pile of wood right here. I'm gonna go ahead and break it down to the size that I need. I'm gonna put together my stove so that I know the exact height that I want. And I'm gonna start putting this together and then we'll come back and take a look. Okay, so I've got my QiWiz stove right here put together, and then I've got a stack of bigger wood, a little bit smaller wood, and then down here's the really small stuff, and then I've still got some wood over here, and really there's wood all around in here that I could use as I get to the point where I need it. So normally what I do is I put all of this wood in here vertically and stack it like this in there, and still leave it a little bit loose, and then build my starting fire on top of it and do a top-down fire, which usually produces a lot less smoke and a lot less soot. But for this case, last night I went out while it was raining and did a couple of tests, and that just didn't work. So what I found was I have to actually light the fire on the bottom and have it heat and start throwing in wood and burn it from the bottom up. So that's what I'm gonna do, is start getting this thing set up. Stove's right here. The way I'm gonna start is getting out some of my Vaseline soaked cotton ball. Let me get this. I'm just going to kind of work it a little bit, fluff it up, and that's going to go down, right down in the bottom of my stove like that. Then I'm going to get this smaller stuff. I'm going to break it up a good amount. Kind of fluff it up and start sitting it on top. And I'm going to kind of make like a teepee around the cotton ball in here. Okay, so now that I've got it packed, I'm gonna go ahead, pick it up, and light it from the bottom. It's got the mesh screen on the bottom. So as long as I can get the lighter to light, just having a hard time getting this thing going. The wind. Wind is just enough. The wind in my cold fingers aren't helping. Ah, there, looks like we're starting. Okay, so now I'm gonna set it down. And I'm just gonna keep feeding it to keep it going. Small sticks at first until it really starts to take off. And even though this wood is wet, this is going to work. Alright, now because the wood is pretty wet, it is smoking quite a bit, but it's starting to really get to the point where it's going to take off. It started going pretty good. I packed it full of the wet stuff, and so all that wet stuff is sizzling in there. It's drying out though, and you can see the flames are really starting to pick up. I put some water into my pot, and I have a couple of the Jiva cubes, the Mocha cubes, that I'm going to heat up some water and give that a try. So I'm gonna get that going and let you see. Alright, so I've got it going right now pretty well. I just keep breaking up sticks and throwing them in through the top. I've got the slot door on the one side open a little bit, just so that it's allowing a little bit more airflow in there. As soon as I did that, it really kicked it up and got it going a lot better. So, bring you back when we got some water going. Okay, so I've got these cubes here. You can see what they look like. They're a pretty small cube. I've got two of them. They each do about 6 to 8 ounces of water to make a coffee. This one happens to be the mocha flavored, so I'm going to drop these into my cup, into my mug, and then once the water's coming up to temp, I'll pour it in. So this thing's burning pretty good right now. It does take a little bit more care, a little bit more feeding during times when the fuel that you're using is wet, damp, moist. So this is 2 days in a row I've been able to get this thing going and burning really well, even with wet wood, just wood picked up off the ground. Yesterday it was actually raining when I gathered the wood. I apologize, I'm fighting a bit of cold here. But I was able to get it going, keep it going, and boil water. Again today, no problem. Once I got it going, it's just a matter of feeding it the correct amount at the correct times. The water's getting pretty close to a boil right now. A lot of steam coming off of it, a lot of bubbles in there. So it'll do the job. Whether it's raining out, whether it's wet out, or it's dry out, this is a viable option. It just takes a little bit more care when you've got wet wood. But it can be done. Got quite a bit of steam coming out of the pot, so I'm gonna open it up. And we've got water boiling. So I'm gonna pull this off. I've got my GSI mug with the Jiva cubes in there. Pour that in. Let it sit for a little bit, stir it up, let this burn down. A lot of good heat coming off of there. It's a cold day, so I'm gonna hold my hands over it, warm my hands up since I didn't bring gloves out here. Oh, that's kind of nice. That is nice. All right, we'll come back and talk in a bit. One more thing before we go. So some people were asking about what you do about your sooty pot. So you can see this one is pretty black and shiny. I just used this. I have not done anything to it. You can see my hand. It's not exactly clean, but it's not dirty. There's not much of anything coming off of this. These things burn actually pretty clean. While mine did have a little bit of smoke towards the beginning, that smoke calmed down and wasn't really there at the end, and so it doesn't leave much of a sooty anything. You know, maybe just the slightest amount, but for the most part, it's good. You could use a little stuff sack, throw it in there, and be good, or throw it in an outside pocket, which is what I like to do. Alright guys, so thanks for coming out here today, joining me. So I made up that coffee. It's the Jiva Mocha cubes. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is nasty. That is horrible coffee. Oh, God. No. Not for me. Oh, as a matter of fact, I'm going to have to pour that out. That's not even drinkable. That's bad. That's just really, really bad. Don't buy Jiva Mocha cubes. Well, if you want some, find somebody that's got some, because they're not drinking them, and try them. That's bad. Oh, I can't say it enough. That's bad. So we came out here today, wet wood. I think a lot of the wood that I gathered had been on the ground for quite a while because it was covered with stuff, and it was some of it was pretty waterlogged, pretty heavy wood. So if you can, find some that's been dry, find some that's under, under brush cover or something that's going to minimize how wet it was. A really good way to find some is you've got deadfalls that are hung up in trees. Those ones have kind of been air dried and don't sit in the water that's sitting on the ground. Those are great places to find wood that you can use. Now, these wood stoves burn really well, and depending on the kind you have, you can load them up and they just work perfect every time. Adjusting the airflow was key to getting this one working right. And I think had I positioned this 180 degrees around where the vent hole was on the upwind side, so the wind coming into it was coming into it, I think that would have increased how well it burned. I think I had it set up exactly perfect last night. It burned great, down to the point where I poured it out and it was just these fine little ashes like you see on my finger right there, just nothing. Right now it's still warm, it's still producing a good amount of heat. There's a good bed of coals down in the bottom, but what I suspect is those coals are going to burn away to the point where they are just fine ash as well. That's the great thing about these. The way that they work, with them being raised up off the ground with a mesh grate at the bottom, allows a lot of airflow underneath. Much different than when you have a fire on the ground. These burn a little bit more efficiently, a little bit hotter, and definitely more thoroughly. If you have the fire on the ground is soaking up some of the heat, so it can't combust the way that it does in one of these wood burning gasification type stoves. So guys, appreciate you coming out here with me today. I'm gonna let this thing burn down, check out what the ashes look like. I may show you, I may not. You guys have seen ashes. They're just fine, dusty ashes. But then I'm gonna go home, walk back to the house, and I'm gonna make some real coffee, because this is junk. Blah. All right guys, I'll see you down the trail.